Welcome to Short Scale Modelling. This is part 4 of AMT Star Trek Enterprise. Scale is 1 to 650. Now this is the Constitution class Enterprise, and I'm building this kit as a what if, so it's my take on a different variation of the Enterprise or the Constitution class. So in part 4 I'm going to be carrying on placing the lights into the saucer section and the warp nacelles. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. So my first job is to prep the area that I'm going to be putting in the lights. Now I don't want lots of light in here, so I'm only wanting lights in a specific way. So you can see the little strip I'm going to be placing in. So all I'm going to be doing here is just measuring up where I want the lights to be. So once I get these two halves lined up, I'm just going to make a little mark from the hole that I made, so I know where the lights are going to start and end. To be honest with you, it's not really necessary to do this, but it just gives you a good idea of where your lights should be. You can't just get away with putting them anywhere because it's such a small area, the whole area will be lit up. But to save on having excess lights in, it's a good practice to do so. Because I cut out an area that wasn't intended to be cut out on the kit, I'm replacing that with a clear Perpex screen instead. So what I've got here is just a sheet of clear Perspex. Now you can buy this from most DIY stores. This particular one came from Wix, but in the UK. But wherever you are in the world, it's easily enough to get your hands on, and they come in different thicknesses as well, and they're very easy to cut. So as you can see there, I'm using a straight rule and I'm just scoring down, and then I've cut off the piece of Perspex and I'm just laying it in there to see how the fit goes. Now also, this is a solid clear bit of Perspex, so it looks a bit flat once it's inside, and after looking at some photos of the Enterprise A and so on, there's some ridges on this Perspex. So what I've got here, some easy fishing line. Now this is the stuff I use for aerials and so on, but it's going to be ideal for what I want. Now to create the grills, I was thinking I can either add a little bit of plastic onto it to make it look like a grill, cut into it and so on, but then I thought, well, maybe I can just place something on top, and this is what the fishing line's for. It's something I've never done before or never tried. So first of all, I've cut off a length of this wire, and I'm using Revit Aquacolor 91 steel just to paint the wire, because this wire is basically see-through, so you want a bit of colour onto it. However, I've decided to change that to Tamiya's XI56 metallic grey. I think the steel was a bit too light, so I wanted a darker colour. And the good thing about this is it doesn't take long to dry. It can just about see the line if I put my hand under it. Next, I'm taking some microcrystal clear. That's the canopy glue. Now, any white glue will do for this really, but the crystal clear is just what I had to hand. And I'm just brushing off this glue over the Perspex. And then I'll take the line of wire, anchor it down onto the bit of towel there with a bit of masking tape, and just stretch it over the Perspex. There's going to be 3 lines in total here, and because I'm using the white glue, it's easy enough to separate them and get them in position, because there's more than enough time for it to set. So once they're in position, I'm just going to separate each wire and get a good distance in between each one to create the grill effect. So you can see they are taking shape, and this will take about 20 minutes for it to dry. So now it's onto my next set of lights, and here I've got a piece of plastic card for the LED strip light to sit on. Now I'm just bending this because I'm not exactly sure if it's going to need to go into the contours of the ship itself. So this is why I'm using a bit of plastic card. It's easy enough to bend, and it protects the LED from breaking once it's in position. Sometimes you can bend these strips too much and you can crack the little contact points, and then of course your LED light won't work. for the bridge section, it's very similar, but I'm only using 3 LEDs here. Now, because it's just the 3 on the strip, I couldn't really put any backing plastic on there because it wouldn't give me enough curve. So I'm having to just make sure when I place this into the contours of this area that I'm not going to bend it too much and break it. Now I've secured this with a little bit of super glue just to make sure it wouldn't move, but as you can see it works fine. So you can see the paint bleeding through. Don't worry about that because there'll be more paint and undercoat going on. So onto the other end of the the other half of the saucer section, you can see I've already put in all the lights that I'm going to be putting in. Now these are all 3mm, the 3mm LED diodes. The flashing ones, the red, white and green flashing ones, those ones were already pre-wired that I bought ages ago. So I didn't have to worry about wiring these up. All the rest were wired in the same way that I done the nacelles for. So now I'm just connecting everything up. Now I'm just using a series of wire to bridge each connection and just following it as a ring around the actual saucer section to connect everything up. And of course I'll be doing that for the positive and negative. So effectively creating little loops of negative to negative and positive to positive as I go around to eventually I will have then just one end or one negative and one positive ready to connect. So once I've done all that, it's very important just to test to make sure everything is lit up still and working. This is before I make any of the connections permanent. And the wire connections are just simply twisted on to each other before I will be soldering these down. So you can see all the lights coming on now there. You can see the flashing red and green coming on. The other ones will have, apart from the white, will have well, the white one at the top, that's just where my hand is, I should say, will have electrical tape placed over them to start the light blocking process. So now that I'm happy with the position, I can secure all these connections with a little bit of solder. If you're doing it on the model like this, you have to be very careful you don't use too much solder and you get any drop off from your solder iron, which then can land onto the bit of plastic and burn through. It has happened occasionally to me. If you're unsure, just put something underneath a soldering mat or even a bit of tape just to delay that heat coming through. After the soldering, I've placed on a little bit of electrical tape onto the joints to stop them from making contact and causing a short with any other bare parts. So that's quite important as well. So now once that's done, I'm just removing any excess undercoat that's gone on to the joints, and I'm preparing the saucer section now to be closed up. I don't often go into this, but it is quite important to remove any excess paint on your contact points before you close up so that you ensure a good bond. So the next part to go on is the housing for the impulse. That there is 2 little location points it just sits into. And once that's on, I shall leave it to dry before I join everything up. Now, you can actually put this on after the saucer session's closed up, but I think it's important to do it now so that you know exactly where everything is and it's bonded. So you don't want it to be out of alignment after the saucer section's closed up, because then you haven't got much of a chance to rectify it. Next is to thread wire through a little opening that I made. This is where the neck meets the saucer section. So this lines up with the opening that I did on the secondary hull. Now you could join these up before you're doing this, or you can have all 4 wires coming down and then joining up later, and that's what I'm going to do. And it's just more for ease and that way I haven't got so many wires bending and cranking inside the saucer section. Sometimes when you do that, it can move something out of position or the connection can break. So it's easier to join them up once everything is secured and it's in the trunk ready for the next connection. It does really make sense instead of trying to join them all up now and leaving yourself very little room with trying to close it up. This way you have more control over it. So once the cement's on, and I can then join up both halves. So I'm just gently pulling down the wire from the opening, and do this gently. Also, you don't want to tug it and break your connection. Then once it's all together, I'll be clamping it up before a light test. And this is where I'll end part 4. This will need overnight to set. I want to make sure it's 100% secure before I go on to the next stage. So you can see there the 4 wires coming through to be connected to the secondary hull. And I'm going to be putting quite a lot of clamps on here again to make sure everything stays in alignment and I've got a good bond right around the saucer section. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you go and check out the channel for my other builds. There's other Star Trek builds on there if you're interested in that sort of thing, or indeed how I do my wiring for these sort of models. And also, if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. And if you do, make sure you hit the notification bell. That way you'll be kept up to date, not only with this build, but all my other builds, of course. Hit that like button. Don't be afraid to leave a comment. And of course, you can share the video. But for now, thank you all so very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you in part 5. So bye-bye.